What's up, everybody? Welcome back to IGN Game Scoop. I'm your host, Damon Hatfield. This is Justin Davis.
Hello.
That's Greg Miller.
Hi.
And making his first Game Scoop appearance is Dan Stapleton.
Is that why I'm last?
Yes, we saved.
Welcome. Your life will never be the same. What's your Twitter?
It's true. Dan is a reviews editor here at IGN, and he's reviewing SimCity, a game that launched almost a week ago. It had a silky smooth launch, no issues whatsoever.
Sarcasm.
Yeah. No, the server issues that have been plaguing everyone they're well documented now at this point. You all have been playing the game. So today I wanted to focus on, you guys were having a conversation this morning about just sort of some of the other problems with the game, more gameplay related.
Right.
I thought it'd be interesting to delve into some of those. Greg,
Yeah.
why don't you start us off? What's your big gameplay issue with SimCity?
Well, we did the live stream. 9 hours of SimCity I played here. It was a dream come true. I've been waiting for SimCity a long time. I do love SimCity, but I finally come to grips with the fact that I do wish the cities were bigger. This was a complaint coming in for a long time, a worry for a lot of people that, oh, the cities are so small, they're so small, and we get to play in little bursts, and it would be like, well, they say that once we hit max city size, you'll be able to link them up to different cities, and you'll have all these things that'll work in conjunction with each other, and it'll be great. And that stuff is cool when it works. It's been weird, hit or miss lately. I can't connect certain things to roads. I can't explain why students aren't going where they should be going, even though they should be going there, Damon. That's annoying. But in the long run, I think it would have been nicer just to be able to make one giant city like you used to do in SimCity 2000 and have different districts of the same city and different, there's certain, like on the maps, there's one in particular on the 16 city map where it's a mountaintop where you could put maybe a power plant in a little bit and then just a giant drop off to like a sliver of land. It's like, what the hell is that? What am I ever going to build there? Why was this even here?
And because the terrain's not editable, that's
Right.
just wasted space.
Exactly.
Right. I mean, the big thing about the small cities is even if they did work perfectly, which they're not right now,
Yeah.
it's not a substitute for having one big giant city. Like you still end up repeating. I've started lots of cities now, and I've done like some idyllic residential ones and some like dirty industrial ones, but you have to end up following the same steps over and over again. Like you end up repeating the same steps over and over again when you have these small city sizes. Every city is gonna need certain things, so you end up plopping the same fire department over and over again.
Right, because eventually coverage gets to be a big deal, right?
Right.
That even if cars are, I've had good luck with buying water or buying power when this is all working, but even then, eventually you get to this part where you need a power plant, and you need to have your own fire department to get everybody there.
It is nice. I mean, it's definitely a leg up to start. Like, I usually would have one, like, ghetto city that would be like a feeder for my nice city. And be like, I don't want them to have a coal power plant, so I'm going to put all the pollution in one city and, like, feed it to another city. But once it gets big enough, it has to end up having its own power plant anyway.
Right.
So it can kind of give you a leg up at the start, but, I've been playing SimCity for 4 days now, and I'm already annoyed by the small city sizes for sure.
Yeah. Well, let me jump in here because like the biggest thing that bothers me about it is the fact that if it were working properly, if those intercity connections were working properly, smaller cities would be a much smaller deal, or no pun intended. But it wouldn't be nearly as big a deal because you wouldn't need to have a power plant in every city. You could build a nuclear power plant in one city and expand on that, and that would be more than enough power for several cities.
Yeah.
So you would not need that, but the fact that it's so unreliable right now, I can't depend on it. Like, if I have two cities running side by side and one of them runs out of power, I can jump over to the other city and build more power, and in theory, that should power the first city. But it just doesn't work all the time. Like I've done that. I built extra facilities in one city, then jumped right back over to the other one, and there's still no more power. So
you're saying if, let's say there were no server issues at all, everything was super smooth, like does the city size, is it too small for you, or are you okay with it?
I mean, it's not ideal by any means. Like I would love at least to have the option of making a big city.
Right.
Well, it was a design choice, right?
It was.
Because they want this to be more about a multiplayer game.
They want this to be online
See,
multiplayer.
but that's what they keep saying. Like, they're like, oh, we made the decision to make the small cities, and I don't know that I believe that. Like, I feel like it was, like, SimCity 4, once your city got too big, it would just be a disaster. Like, even these supercomputers would have trouble running SimCity 4.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they were trying to get away from, is like, this is an advanced simulation. So they have these small city sizes to ensure computers
Well, that's the whole thing
with
with their move to Glassbox, right? The fact that you can zoom in and follow a sim on its daily life, and then I think that's what they're talking about. Is if you expand that, extrapolate that out to a giant SimCity 2000 city, there's no way to be able to keep up.
That's not true. Like I have a I have a Core i7 processor in my machine. That will handle it.
At least that means.
I was like, is that a PS2?
It's a 6-core CPU. It's got the muscle to handle this. The reason that these are small is because they have a base spec that has to handle this game. They have to say, this if you have this kind of computer, it will run fine. And that they can't have it just be the people with the high-end processors in it. It has to have a broader spectrum of people. Like Scott Lowe was running SimCity on a Microsoft Surface Pro,
right.
which is, it's got Intel 4000 graphics in it. It's not super high-end or anything, but it was running.
Yeah, I mean, I wish we had the option to, like, if you are someone that has a really badass gaming PC, let people build a bigger city. Put a warning in front of it, like, hey, like when you have 300,000 citizens, this might not run very well. Do you want to do this anyway? And then, give people a choice. And for most people, maybe, the smaller cities are fine.
And that's kind of a consequence. The only reason we can't do that is because of this always-on online requirement.
Yeah.
Like you could do it, you could just mod it. Like modders would have fixed this by now.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's an always-online game prevents them from going in and tinkering.
So Dan, what would you say your main problem with the gameplay in SimCity is?
Well, that connectivity issue is the biggest killer for me right now. It just breaks the entire design that has these modular specialized cities. I guess another one, since we already talked about that, would be the resource economy. I think isn't a good fit for SimCity.
Like the trading, the coal,
Right.
and the metals.
So if you don't know, you go in and each of these maps has a random set of like coal, oil, ore, and there's also water, which is finite as well. But you can go in and you can extract these resources and you can refine them and sell them, and that will completely replace the need for tax income. So, I have nothing against trading sims in general, or these kind of economic games, but that's not something that a mayor does. Like that's not. This is let's get Colin Moriarty in here and explain to us that government shouldn't be running businesses. Like that's not what I think of
it's
as
a state-sponsored coal mine.
It's true.
It's like if this is a Chinese city, fine, but
whoa.
No, that's like over there.
Talking about the government setup.
Yeah, and like a bunch of governments are more socialist than ours, and will own and operate these businesses. But
it annoys me that I farm all this coal out of there, and I'm like, yeah, we'll export it, but keep enough to run your city, and they don't do that.
Yeah.
They export it, they sell it all, and they're like, we're out of coal, we got nothing, we're out of power. It's like, you freaking idiots, just save a little bit.
I haven't had that problem. It's worked very smooth for me.
Oh, okay.
You don't have enough fine-grained control over how the trading works. And Dan's absolutely right that I have one city that loses, I think 10 or 12,000 simoleons, the money.
Yeah.
It loses like 12,000 simoleons every single tick. So the money, the city is losing money like crazy, but it makes it back by trading. I'm importing.
And that doesn't show up in your budget.
Well,
no, it doesn't show up. I mean, you can see it.
It doesn't.
Sure, but I mean, I'm sorry, it's not
It
popping
shows
up.
me as losing money, and if you're in the region view, it's like, this city is bankrupt, but then I have millions of simoleons because I have a trade. I'm importing coal and ore, refining it into alloy, and then selling that alloy at a profit. And so then it's like, well, I could put taxes down to zero. Like, it wouldn't matter. Like, if the whole idea is to run like a fiscally responsible city, you can get around that with the trading system for sure.
Which you were saying earlier, your main problem is with something with the roads.
Yeah, so it's just finicky how they work, how you place them. That has this system where there's these snap grids. So if you like run your mouse over a road, it'll tell you where you need to put the road, like the next road over, to give you some idea of how far apart they need to be. But like sometimes they snap and sometimes they don't snap. And if you're trying to do curvy roads, funky things happen. And trying to
this interferes with the previous intersection. It's like,
Right.
That's what roads do. I'm the mayor. I'm telling you to put the road there.
like there's all kinds of weirdness with the roads. That first I like the snap system a lot. I'm like, this is handy. I can lay things out quickly. But the more I sort of dive into the minutia of the game, like you can't upgrade roads to avenues.
That's the worst part. That's
yeah.
so annoying. Yeah.
And I sort of understand why, because the avenues take up more space.
Sure.
But like, it's just, I spend more time negotiating this road curved slightly and I didn't want it to. I want it to go straight. Like that's what I spend the bulk of my time doing, which just isn't fun. That game is very polished and smooth and like it's got this good flow to it, except when it comes to like laying down roads.
Well, you're talking about how it pops up with the grid lines and stuff.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where if you were to go in one direction the whole time, no problem, and it would give you the perfect lines. But when you start at the other action, usually what I do is I break industrial and residential, right?
Sure.
So I have two things going. When I try to come back, then
match
I'll be getting double lines. They'll be right next to each other. You'll put one down, you'll put people in. No one will build behind the buildings you have because they can't expand. It's like, man.
And you wonder why you have traffic problems. You got all your jobs over here, all your residents over here. That'll mess you up.
How this works, so just so you know, is like I said, you place a road and it'll tell you, okay, you need to place the next road this far over. But if you start roads on your own, like in another section of the map, and then when those two come together, then you got grid lines all over the place trying to, you don't know where you're supposed to put roads, and like the guides are all messed up.
I miss the old gridded out map of 2000 or whatever.
And I would say that the road tools are usul for like broad strokes, but not for fine tuning.
Sure,
You can't fine tune.
Trying to connect a train station.
Oh,
That's
man.
a nightmare.
Jesus Christ.
And
And I should say, like, this game has me under its spell.
I was gonna say, right?
So that's what I want. I wanted to end on like a more positive note. Like obviously there's been a lot of complaints about SimCity recently, but overall you guys have a positive takeaway from the game, right?
Right.
I definitely do. I mean, I have real complaints. Like, everything that I just said is totally legitimate, but I played SimCity all weekend. Like, that's all I did. And so this is the result. These are the complaints of someone that probably put 8 hours, 2 days in a row into the game. And it's like, well, after 16 hours, I'm starting to see some things that maybe I'm not too wild about.
Well, I mean, we always pick apart stuff we love,
Yeah.
right? Of like, oh man, it's great, but this, you know what I mean? Like, we could sit here and talk for hours about the things we love about SimCity. There's so many things. I mean, like those 9 hours again were just perfect. I would love to do that again and do when the servers are fixed. Here's what the next 9 hours.
I mean, there's something really special about like plopping down a bunch of residential area and seeing like it just grow up and build.
Exactly.
It feels so good.
Seeing all, like when you drop like the mayor's house and all the smiley faces go, and you see everybody start building.
I love that ripple wave as it expands out. That just really triggers something in me. It's like, oh, that's great. But yeah, I think I've probably spent upwards of 60 hours with it now. And that's even allowing for all the server downtime.
I was going to say, how much is you staring at it trying to connect to the server?
I'm not even counting that in that number.
That's impressive.
I've been trying to review this all week. It hasn't been easy. But I don't regret most of the time I've spent with it.
Right.
It's like when the servers were all messed up, that was real bad. But I've had a pretty rewarding time with it overall. And yes, the longer you play it, the more these problems are going to become apparent, and it stops you from doing the kind of things you want to do. I still haven't been able to build a successful gambling or tourism city because
I can't do that either.
Right, there seems to be a bug in there where like it'll work for a while and then not going to work anymore. Just stops. Nobody shows up. So there are all these problems where I want to build new cities and have them be different from my previous cities, but they just don't work right.
The launch is so unfortunate. Like EA struggles with its public image a lot, right? SimCity is a long-running brand. They reboot it, finally get out the door, and then it's just a disaster.
And literally from like the moment they said it's always online, people have been crying foul that this is DRM stuff and this, that, and the other. It's going to ruin the game, and they're like, nope, no, God damn it.
And, to be fair, I mean, if you look back at World of Warcraft, for example, that had a terrible launch
for months.
And it recovered because it turned it around, turned it into a really great game. I think EA and Maxis do have a chance to do that here. I mean, this is like the fact that it has enraptured us so means that there is some magic to it. It's going to, if they can just iron out a lot of these issues, it's gonna turn into something great. And the fact that they are like, this is pretty much the only thing Maxis is working on. They've got a full team there working on it. Like I think there is a very good chance that it will turn around in the future. But right now it's just not awesome.
So few games where people will sit there and actually again try to reconnect, lose all their progress, have to jump to different servers and lose all their friends and all this different, and keep coming back. Like the fact that people are still bitching about it on Twitter, are still riled up about it, is a good sign in the long run.
That shows that they care.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, nobody even if
I always use the example of the.
Sorry, I hit the gong. I think it's about time for the show to end.
The people that complain about Call of Duty the most are the ones that play Call of Duty the most, right? So it's like, for all this belly aching, like SimCity is, I don't know if I can go so far as to say it's a great game, but it's a very, very good game that I'm enjoying a lot despite sort of the finicky issues that I'm having.
I would say that nobody complains about not being able to play a bad game.
Yeah.
That's
good one. That's
good. I like that. I think Miyamoto said that. Dan, you're finishing up your review now. It should be live tomorrow.
Yeah,
it actually should be live on IGN by the time this video is up. So make sure you check in to find out our final verdict on SimCity right here on IGN.